So what brings you here? Is there something in particular that you're here for? Your particular personal connection with owls, a question that is burning in your cerebrum that you have to have answered tonight? Our guys, and surprisingly, yeah, that bird doesn't weigh any more than, what is it, about 1.5 pounds, Laura? Of applesauce here that we've got. Calls into human words. Listen and see if you can hear who cooks for you, who cooks for you all in this call. So there's those series of notes there, and so some of you real veterans can't answer this question, but you've heard that one. What's the difference between that call and this call?
This is the eastern screech owl, and obviously he's your gray-faced screech owl. They come in red. We've also got a Chris can grab the red one here. They're looking a little rough, so we need to get some new ones. But give you
so in contrast, you can see that rusty red color, and they will be in the same clutch of eggs. You will get red and gray born together. So there's another study for you, sister. How come some of those owls have beautiful red feathers like your hair, and some of them are gray like my whiskers? Huh? What's going on there?
The reason why we have this bird is because it was injured and not able to be released back into the wild. And so this bird was found, oh gosh, 7 years ago now, next to the side of the road. And so most likely had been hit by a car. Somebody saw it and cared enough about this animal to call Kay Newman, who is the animal doctor that we've been talking about. And you know, the goal is always to try and heal these birds up and release them back into the wild. There's actually pretty good success with that. Over 60%. I asked Kay, what is your success? And she said really over 60% of the birds that I bring in go back out into the wild. So this bird's not going to be able to catch its prey anymore. It would either starve to death or get caught by somebody else because its flight really, it had a broken wing, and it's really hard to tell by looking at it now, but if you try to watch it flies about 4 feet up into the air. So,
and differently, we were talking earlier about the size of the pellets. These guys will take up to lambs and cats and small dogs, and so this is a big time predator. Obviously this guy is not going to try and take down a rabbit or skunks. Surprisingly, one of these guys' favorite food are skunks. And so do you think this guy is trying to take down a skunk? And if you look at the talons on that bird's feet as they wrap around Laura's finger. Yeah, so here's a comparison of the talons of a screech owl that you're going to be capturing your prey with to here. So that kind of, when they sit down and they start looking at the menu, these guys have to take, half of the 3/4 of the menu off the page and say, oh, that's probably good to eat, but I'm not going to be able to kill that. This one, the whole menu's open for supper.
They don't like crows either.
Well, indigenous people's stories, these owls took on human characteristics because not only are they out there talking, but they look, they have eyes like us, they have that round face. If an owl had a head as big as mine, they would have eyes the size of grapefruit. So if I was an owl and it had a head this big, that would be some big eyes. So you tell me I hunt by hearing? Well, what in the heck are these things for?
So this is actually a feather from, not from an owl, but what kind of bird? Huge feathers, so it's not from a chicken,
Turkey.
Yeah, this is it's a turkey feather. So this is one feather. So what do turkeys eat? What do they eat? As soon as you hear it, raise your hand.
Either.
That's just one feather.
So you were saying, if you're a predator, you not only have to be able to locate your prey, you got to be able to stealthily sneak up on your prey.
So how are you going to do that if you're an owl? Well, this is the magic of owls catching their prey. So close your eyes again. I'm going to wave this whole, this is a whole wing of great horned owl feathers. And I want you to raise your hands as soon as you hear this. Oh, put your hand down.
So open your eyes because you all been had. This is where, in a classroom of 4th graders, you can tell them your magic.
On the edge that just gets rid of the sound.
There so that air is just exactly right, filtered right through those soft fuzzy feathers and filtered right through this leading edge comb too. So we'll pass this around, you can see how fuzzy they are.
So check out the facial disc on this guy that you were asking about.
And slow movements with this guy. You can tell, some are a little bit more excitable than others. Different personalities, just like people. We're getting settled here. Getting these.
And you might notice as Laura comes across in front of that projector, those gigantic eyeballs, she's trying to keep them from getting that, you know, flash bulb shot there. So look at this guy, you can see where his name comes from, longhorn, long-eared owl. His owl ear tufts are laying down right now, but you know, he looks a little bit like a miniature great horned, eh? But if you look at the coloration and the way the facial disc is arranged, and then that white bib on the great horn that's here, no white bib at all.
If you look at the face on this long-eared owl, you can see the white in the face, it makes an X. And this owl and the great horned owl that we're gonna bring out in just a minute from Kay Newman, who is the raptor rehabilitator over at Saving Our Avian Resources. And she's actually about an hour from here, near Dedham or Coon Rapids, sort of that area.
It's
But
one
this is
thing
an
to
uncommon
play
owl.
with.
This one is an endangered owl
Endangered,
in
yeah.
Iowa. So yeah, if you see one of these, it is a very, 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 very rare thing for you to see. And if you think about it, the reason why this owl and the barn owl are, and short-haired owl too, reason why they are endangered here, I believe, is because of their habitat. And so these owls, barn owls, they love to hunt open grasslands. So this is what I would call an edge species. They love to have forest woodlands to hang out in during the day, to roost in, but they hunt the open grassy fields. So you've got an area that has woodlands edge and then a big open grassy fields for it, but they also love huge old stands of cedar trees. So that's typically where they're roosting, it's in those cedar trees, and then at night they come out to hunt in those big open grasslands.
You send a whole mouse down to your stomach's hitting the ejection button and saying, don't be sending that down here without chewing it. So they can't have a system like you, they've got two stomachs, and that allows them to process that unchewed stuff. And what they literally do is strip off all the protein, all the muscle, and if you look in this pellet, what's left? Yeah, the bones, the feather, and the fur that can't be digested, and then they eject that out in the form of a pellet. So that's the story for the 28th or whatever. Yeah, and look at the size of the thing. You notice that Laura went from wearing a little yard glove with the screech owl, now she's got this big old welder's glove on now, because these guys can put an incredible amount of pressure on your hand with those talons.
Now, when they
So,
sit on your hand, do they bring that other one back around, or do they?
Oh,
They
just
sit with
that
all
one toe?
forward, or do they?
They usually, when they're perching, they typically have this one toe back. I mean, they'll perch with two toes back and two toes forward, but typical perches having one toe back. But if they're catching food,
But he only weighs about 5 pounds?
yep, about
and that would be a
4
female.
pounds.
Male's 3.5. So looking at that guy, you would never believe 3.5 pounds.
But when you're holding them on your fist, you know, imagine holding that, 4-pound bag of sugar in your fist.
Teachers, when you get a chance to be that close to wildness, it really reaches back into the core of our being, and we start remembering things, we start respecting things, we start becoming much more interested in, well, maybe I should do something that's good for that guy. And there was just something mesmerizing about seeing these rascals. So, February, in the last month, any of you that have any barred owls around you, you will have noticed that the amount of talking that's going on is starting to pick up.